Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Prana with Milani. In this space, we talk about health, wellness, and share positivity and inspiration to uplift the human mind. Today, our guest is Art of Living teacher and author Marcy Jackson, joining us all the way from Hawaii. Hi, Marcy. Thank you so much for coming on our channel.
Oh, hello, Milani. So nice to see you, and hello, everybody.
Thank you, Marcy. So, before I formally introduce you, Marcy, I want to first take this opportunity to express my complete gratitude to you. Last year, when I was down and out with COVID, and we can all understand what it does to our mental and our physical health, a friend just happened to send me your book, and I read it through the 4 or 5 days that I was just lying down. And it was such an uplifting read. I truly believed it's the only thing that healed me. So, again, so grateful to you for writing this amazing,
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you so much.
So, for all our viewers, Marcy has been an auto living teacher for over 30 years now, and she's teaching. She's taught in a variety. She's taught in many countries, a bouquet of courses, right from veterans to AIDS trauma survivors to young people, and much more. She's currently visiting her kids in Hawaii, where she's doing this webcast with us from. But she lives in Vancouver, and before that, she's lived in England and in the Arctic, where she has taught as a speech therapist and a special needs, special ed teacher. So, Marcy, thank you again for doing all that you do. We're very grateful to have you in our lives and to have you as the author that you are.
Thank you, Milani. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
So, Marcy, I want to get right into your book. Tell us something about this amazing, amazing book um, that you've written a while ago, and that has such an impact on me. So, just tell us about that book, and a hint to all our viewers: it's about divinity personified.
Divinity personified. Yes. Well, and it's also about unconditional love and wisdom. You know, we all have stories. Anyone who has done art of living and who has had the blessing to be with Gurudev has stories. And, many years ago, in the very beginning, in the early 90s, after a satsang, a lot of us would sit around and we'd tell stories till 2, 3 in the morning. And then we'd say, oh, somebody should have recorded that, right? And the next night we'd go back, do the same thing and forget to record. So none of those stories were ever recorded, but we would laugh so hard. It was like becoming a child again. People say, well, you laugh until you cry. I'd never experienced that until this time. And I don't think I'd ever laughed as much. As children, yes, but we grow up and, life takes over and we don't spend our time laughing so much. And I think that's been one of the greatest things of, being involved with, the whole art of living. So one day Gurudev said to me, you have very interesting experiences, write them all. And I said, yes, yes. And time went by and years went by, actually. And he'd always say, are you writing? Are you writing? And I'd say, yes, yes. And then in 2016, I was in India and he came up to me and said, you have 3 days, finish it. I thought, oh my gosh, I was in the middle of doing Pancha Karma. And there I was staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, trying to put everything together. And that's how it happened. So a lot of us can work well under pressure. I guess that's me. I don't know. But, you know, I think it's very hard to express who he is. I mean, how do you put words to the sun rising, the stars coming out at night, all of those things? It's like it's a phenomena, and in a way, that's that's who he is. When you think of all that he has done in a short period of time, I mean, it's astounding, absolutely amazing that one person could do all of this, everything from seeing that children are educated, preventing suicide with farmers, fixing rivers, making things work between countries that are at war. Unbelievable. It really is a phenomenon.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I mean, I've seen him among the richest of the rich, the poorest of the poor. He is no different with anyone. I mean, I don't know anyone else in this life now who has had such an effect on people, so many people.
True, true, absolutely. And so your book is about unconditional love and stories of grace and our guru.
Very much. It's my experiences, right? You know, we all have experiences, and I just jotted them down. And they're simple stories. They're readable. You can pick it up, put it down.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think you can put it down. Once you open it, you you want to keep reading it again and again and again. It's that a beautiful read. So Marcy, so now that we told our viewers that your story is about Gurudev, not giving out too much from your book, but can you share some instances first about when you first met him? What was it like when in the beginning years, when maybe the first couple of times when you got to know who he is, um, or maybe the first time when you found out, or when you know how you feel in his presence. It's hard to describe who Gurudev is, but
Very, very hard. I remember once, Milani, I found a greeting card that said, "I know who you are." And I bought it and I was going to give it to him. And then I thought, don't be ridiculous. You have no idea who he is. And I think that really is it. It's he's also he's this amazing conduit that can transform people's lives, right? In the same time, he's like a child full of fun. When I first met him, I had arranged for him to give a talk at a school, and I missed it. And then I missed his next talk, Mothers with Young Children. And then I was going to go to the one on AIDS. I missed all of those. And it wasn't until a friend invited me to come see a CBC taping on enlightenment. Um, and she didn't know who was speaking. So I said, no, I think I won't go. It's raining and I'll make a fire and read. I hung up the phone. I took 2 steps and I heard this voice in my head saying, come, come. I thought, okay, I don't hear voices all the time, right? So I went back, I phoned her. I said, yeah, pick me up. And in walked Joseph Chilton Pierce, who's an educator, a Catholic priest, and then Gurudev, known as Panditji at the time. I thought, oh my gosh, that's why I'm here. And when he looked, there were maybe 100 people in the studio, Canadian broadcasting, and he looked all around, and when he looked in my direction, it was like a light hit me between the eyes. I thought, what is this? And, soon everyone was addressing their questions just to this man all dressed in white. And I think they announced that there was a course coming up, but I wasn't interested in spending a weekend taking a course. I mean, I'd done all the looking, I'd never found what I was looking for, and I didn't believe I was going to find it. So when I left, I walked right by the flyers that were sitting there. And then all of a sudden, my arm just jerked out behind me involuntarily. I hit the person behind me, and I had to say, oh, I'm so sorry. And I grabbed a flyer. And that night, I found myself in the morning in the shower talking to myself saying, what is your life so great? You don't want anything to change? What, are you afraid? And as I reached for the shampoo, I said, yes. And I thought I'd never been afraid of anything. But I knew deep down that this was something that was life-changing, and it certainly was. Last thing I thought I'd ever do. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to do any of that. I mean, my world was one of academia. I was teaching out at UBC. But I never thought this. And I often wonder, what could I have ever done in what lifetime to feel and be so blessed to have had this opportunity, as all of us have, to be on this planet at this time. It's like not to be missed. I mean, it is. And for my family, it's gone from generation to generation. I taught my parents, my children, and my grandchildren. It's amazing. And they seem
Wow.
to absorb by osmosis without anybody even saying anything. As children, they would take his picture and put it around their little train set and say, "We're taking Guruji for a ride." And I think, "Oh my goodness." Or they would hide the picture. We hid his picture. "Don't tell I told you. I put it under the bed." Okay. They just play these games. They had no idea. But they just seem to get it. So I'm very
He's
grateful.
just his being, even his being exudes so much love, that everybody gets drawn to it. And Marcy, it's funny because I grew up listening to stories of Krishna, of Jesus, of Buddha, and I would always wonder, what it would be like to be when they were there, what it would be like to be around Krishna, to be around Buddha, and to be around Jesus, and be around those divine beings. And that quest came to an end when I met Gurudev, because I felt that this is a divine being, and I'm just so blessed, as you said, to be in the presence, right? What must we have been done, uh,
Yeah.
such good karma to be in his presence, right? And it's just,
No, it's all one energy.
mhm.
That's what it is. It's like, yes, he is all those.
Yeah.
And
And Marcy, share with us some incidences, something that he said to you, or some story from your book,
so
or
the
maybe
first,
not from your book.
well, I don't remember what's in the book, to be honest. But the first time I traveled with him, before we got on the plane, he said, uh, "Tell me about your children." And before I had a chance to say anything, he said, "Your son, he's very gentle, very good. Your daughter, she's very outgoing." Yes. I mean, and he talked about them, and it was like he'd never met them. And I thought, how does he know? And then he said to me, "Your life was very different before, no?" And I said, "No, no. And a couple of days later, I had to go to him, and I said, "Gurudev, I'm so sorry. I lied to you." And he said, "You lied to me?" I said, "Yeah, my life was different. I'd forgotten." And I think that was it. I think with all of us, something changed. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that you're never going to get angry or you're never going to be sad or any of those, but he like expands your universe in such a way that you're able to deal with whatever.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty. Um, and he knows, it's like amazing. So, experiences are just experiences. You don't dwell on them. And quite early on, I remember waking up about 3 in the morning, and I opened my eyes and he was standing by my bed. And I shut my eyes and I shut them, and I thought, am I hallucinating? What is it? I'm going saying nursery rhymes. Mary had a little lamb, anything to make him go away. And I open, he's still there. So I'm going, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 16. And each time he says, "Come, come," and then, okay, I just closed my eyes and went. I don't know. Next thing I knew, it was 6 in the morning. I woke up and what was that? Then I forgot about it, right? And several years later, he stayed in my house and he was in that room. And when he was leaving, I remembered as we're walking down the steps, I said, "The first time you ever appeared to me in my house was I was sleeping. I woke up, you were standing there. I tried to make you go away. I'm saying nursery rhymes. I'm doing counting." And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Why are you telling me this? I'm already knowing it." And I thought, who is he?
That is the beauty about our guru, right, Marcy? He always knows. where we are, what we're doing, if we're in distress, if we're unhappy, even when we're happy and joyful. I feel is that the presence and that divinity never leaves us,
It
really.
doesn't leave us. And I know there was one time where I was speaking on the phone with him, and it was very hard at that point to get young people enrolled in the courses. And I was saying, this and that, and I was apologetic, and I just was saying it's very difficult. We can't get in the schools, it was early on, right? And all of a sudden, on the phone, he said, "Don't you know, I'd rather you be happy than teach 100,000 kids." And I just burst into tears. I was just like, I didn't know what to say. What do you say? And that's all that he wants from people. You notice how he asks people, "Are you happy?
Yes,
Are
that's
you?"
the only thing he cares for.
That's
Yeah.
all he cares. He asked me once early on, he said to me, "Are you happy?" And I said, "Oh, it's been a hard year. A friend died, this happened, that." And he said, "But you're okay." I said, "Yeah." Next, and it was like that, so you don't dwell on the things, you
Yeah.
move on. Excuse me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what his presence in our life does for us, right?
Oh,
So
it's utterly astounding. At a satsang, my 10-year-old grandson raised his hand when Gurudev said, "Are there any questions?" And he kind of looked at him somewhat bemused, and then Jackson said, "I'd like to know what it's like to see the world through your eyes." And he looked at him and he said, "Through my eyes?" And Jackson said, "Yes, my question is, what is your impression of the world in one word?" Reggie just looked at him and said, "Tell me, what is yours?" And Jackson's little mouth, I was watching him, went, and then he just looked up and he was silent. It was almost 2 minutes, and there were a lot of people. And I was thinking, oh, he must be so hard. Should I say something? Should I not? And then all of a sudden he opened his eyes, he looked at Guruji and he laughed. He said, "It's very hard to describe in a word." And Guruji said, "Isn't it?" Yeah. And so I thought, this is something all of us, so a 10-year-old can teach us to see through the eyes of a master. I mean, it's like amazing. And when I asked him, I said, did Guruji show you something? And he said, "Well, it was like I was in outer space looking back at the universe, and I could see that there were people who were happy, and there were people who were sad, and there were people who loved, and people who hated, people who were kind and generous, and people who were mean and selfish." And he started naming all these opposites, and I thought, yeah, I guess he showed you something. So, I mean, we're just incredibly, incredibly blessed. And I think that anybody, if they haven't met him, if they have the opportunity, this is the utmost. With World Culture Festival coming up in
exactly.
end of
Yes.
September in Washington, D.C., this is huge. I mean, that mall has never been given out to anything like this. Never, ever. And for 3 nights. Unbelievable. That'll go down in history.
In
And,
history, absolutely.
you
And
know,
everybody should take the opportunity to come see him, to be in his presence, because I think it is just it's a burst of energy. It's undescribable, but it's so much
absolutely,
love.
absolutely undescribable. I mean, it's very, very hard to, it, who is he? He's all these many, many, many different things. And
And I
then
always feel that whenever I go see him, I come back more refreshed, more recharged. And one tends to forget when they go and see him and be with him in courses, World Cultural Festival, wherever it is, your mind blanks out and it erases all of your distress and you come back new and renewed, right, Marcy? Isn't that?
oh, absolutely. And feeling that closeness, somehow you feel closer to him when you're not even with him. And I don't know how, I've never experienced that with anybody else, it's quite an amazing phenomenon.
Absolutely. And for our viewers to get more on that phenomena, I totally recommend everybody to read Marcy's book. It is such a beautiful, beautiful read.